She wore her plainest gown to the ball, unaware England's desired duke would cross the room for her. The rain tapped softly on the carriage windows as Clara Whitcomb tried to steady her breath. Her hands were folded neatly on her lap. The invitation had arrived 3 weeks before, a gold-edged card that felt heavy with promise and danger at the same time. Lady Ashworth's Midsummer Ball was the most important event of the season. It was the night when reputations rose or fell, all under bright chandeliers and the sharp eyes of London society. Clara wore a simple muslin gown the color of soft cream. Its hem was a little worn. Its cloth had been mended many times. Her mother had sewn it before illness took her, and Clara had repaired it with her own hands over the years. There was no lace on the neckline, no ribbon at her waist. She looked almost like a shadow in a place meant for glitter and display. When the carriage stopped in front of Ashworth House, golden light poured from every window. It looked warm and beautiful, but also demanding, like a door that judged those who tried to enter. Clara touched the embroidered handkerchief at her wrist, the one she had sewn long ago to comfort herself. Then she stepped out. Inside, the ballroom looked like a world she did not belong to. The chandeliers sparkled above polished floors. The walls were covered in silk. The ladies wore gowns of emerald ruby and deep blue, their skirts shining as they moved. The orchestra played a fast waltz that needed perfect training and confidence. Clara walked quietly toward the edge of the room, the place where unnoticed people stood. A cold voice cut through the air near her. "Good heavens! Is that Miss Whitcomb in a child's dress?" Lady Eugenia Rathmore stood close by, tall, pale, and proud. Her black silk gown was richer than anything Clara had ever touched. The widow's eyes swept over Clara with thin cruelty. How quaint! One might think she has come straight from a village chapel. Her companions laughed. It was not loud laughter, but the kind that stings more because it is soft. Clara kept her voice steady. "Lady Eugenia, your gown is quite striking. The color suits a woman of your place." It was simple, respectful, and firm. Lady Eugenia's smile tightened. She had expected Clara to break. As the night went on, Clara watched the dancers. She watched the mothers planning their daughters' futures. She watched young men choosing partners as though they were choosing property. She stood quiet, unnoticed, but she knew she was not weak. She had learned that silence could hold its own strength. Then the Duke arrived. Adrian Hartley, Duke of Meevale, stepped into the ballroom with calm control. He wore a gray coat and a white cravat tied with perfect precision. His eyes were cool and steady, the kind of eyes that saw more than they showed. The room shifted when he entered. People straightened their backs. Mothers pushed daughters forward with hope. The orchestra seemed to play brighter. Clara watched him without expectation. She only saw a man who carried a heavy life with grace. He did not dance. He spoke to lords and earl. He moved with the calm of someone used to being watched. Clara stayed in her corner. She had accepted invisibility long ago. It was safer than pretending she belonged. Then a familiar voice reached her. "Miss Whitcomb, your gown is lovely in its simplicity." Martha Ellingford, the house's head governess, stood beside her. Martha had known Clara's mother. She understood what real dignity looked like. Her kindness steadied Clara like a warm hand on a cold day. When the clock struck midnight, the final waltz was announced. It was the most important dance of the night. Gentlemen moved quickly toward the partners they wished to claim. Clara watched with quiet acceptance. This part of the evening never included her. Then a shadow fell before her. Clara looked up. Adrian Hartley stood only a few feet away. His gray eyes were fixed on her, not with pity, but with a focus that seemed almost urgent. "Miss Whitcomb," he said, "I find myself without a partner for the final waltz. Would you grant me the honor?" The entire ballroom felt the moment. People paused. Fans froze in mid-air. Even the music seemed to wait. Clara felt her heart rise into her throat. She knew this was no simple invitation. The most desired duke in England had crossed a crowded ballroom to stand before a woman in a plain muslin gown. Lady Eugenia went pale. Clara placed her hand in his. His touch was steady and warm. He led her to the center of the floor, and the orchestra began the waltz again, slower this time, almost graceful enough to bless the moment. "Your plainness," the Duke said softly as they moved, "is not a flaw. It is an honesty beauty often covers." Clara felt her heart tremble like a small bird learning the sky was open. She had no words. She only felt something inside her shift, something she had protected all her life. A duke had seen her. Not her gown, not her status, her. And for the first time, she wondered if her life might change. The morning after the ball felt strangely bright, as if London itself had softened for one day. Clara sat in the small sitting room of her father's modest home in Bloomsbury. Her embroidery lay untouched in her lap. Her thoughts kept drifting back to the waltz, to the Duke's steady hand, and the quiet strength in his voice. She told herself it meant nothing. A single dance could not change a life. Yet her heart refused to settle. Then the letter arrived. Her father brought it in with shaking hands. The handwriting was neat and strong. Clara recognized it at once. "Miss Whitcomb, I find myself wishing for further acquaintance. With your permission, I would call upon your home this Thursday at 3. I believe there is a matter of importance that we must discuss. Yours in earnest regard, Adrian Hartley." 3 days. 3 days to wonder why a man like him would write to a woman like her. Clara tried to be calm. She told herself the visit must be only a polite gesture. Maybe he wished to offer some explanation for the scene he had caused. Maybe he did not want rumors to spread. Maybe he felt obligated. But her hands shook as she prepared for the visit. She chose a lavender dress that had belonged to her mother, one she wore when she wished to feel something close to hope. The Duke arrived at exactly 3. He stepped inside the small drawing room with quiet confidence, yet something in his eyes looked almost unsure. He bowed to her father. "Professor Whitcomb, thank you for allowing my visit. I wish to speak with your daughter regarding a matter that concerns her well-being and my own peace of mind." Her father looked troubled, but also strangely hopeful. He left them alone. Clara and the Duke stood facing each other in the gentle afternoon light. The room was small and simple, yet he did not seem out of place. Instead, he looked as if he accepted the space fully, as if grand rooms and fine halls meant little compared to this moment. "I owe you an explanation," Adrian said. "My choice at the ball was not a sudden impulse. I did not ask you to dance because the room expected it. I did so because I could not stay silent any longer." Clara felt her breath catch. "Your Grace, you only just met me." He shook his head gently. "No, Miss Whitcomb, I have noticed you before." He told her that he had seen her at 3 different gatherings. At a musical, where she listened with real emotion rather than show. At a garden party, where she spoke kindly to a servant's children. At a public lecture, where she asked a thoughtful question that revealed her intelligence. In those moments, he said, he had understood something important about her. She did not try to impress anyone. She did not hide behind empty manners. She simply lived with truth. In a world that asks women to be decoration, he said, you chose to be substance. Clara felt something warm grow inside her chest, something she had buried long ago. "Your Grace," she whispered, "you speak as if I needed defense." "You never needed defense," he said, stepping closer. "You simply deserve to be seen." Weeks followed, each one filled with long conversations, thoughtful walks, and quiet understanding. Adrian visited often. They spoke about books, science, and the unfair ways society judged those with less wealth or position. Clara found that he listened to her with real interest, never to correct her, never to shape her into someone else. One afternoon, while walking through the British Museum, he stopped in front of a statue of Athena. "Do you ever feel," he asked, "like the world has forced you into a role, and you must perform it every day instead of living your true self?" "Every day," Clara said softly. "I am the poor professor's daughter. I am the girl in the plain dress. I am the woman with no dowry. Sometimes I fear I have become only those things." He turned to her fully. I see the woman beneath those roles, and I find myself wanting to know her for the rest of my life." Those words settled deep inside Clara, warm and frightening at the same time. But London society was not blind. Rumors spread fast, carried by those who wished to protect the Duke from what they called a mistake. Letters arrived at Clara's home. Cruel letters. Her father read them with trembling hands. The Dagger Duchess, Adrian's aunt, used her influence to warn him. She believed Clara had trapped him, that her plainness was a trick to win sympathy. The morning her father told her, Clara felt something inside her crack. She had always known society judged her, but she had not expected it to turn her kindness into something ugly. That evening, the Duke arrived at her door without warning. His eyes held anger, not at her but at the lies being told. "I know what they say," he told her. "I have heard every accusation, that you seek my rank, that your simplicity is a disguise, that you are dangerous, because you cannot be controlled." Clara whispered, "And do you believe any of it?" He stepped closer until she could hear the tremble in his breath. "Clara, I wish to marry you, not because you are convenient, not because you elevate me, but because you have shown me who I want to be. You have taught me the value of honesty in a world drowning in display." Her heart felt too full, too bright, too afraid. "Your aunt will never allow it." "My aunt does not rule my life," he said. "And if giving up property or title is the price of loving you, then I surrender them gladly." Clara's breath caught as if the world had tilted toward something new and impossible. "Will you marry me, Clara Whitcomb? Will you walk beside me not as a decoration but as the woman who changed my heart?" The answer rose from somewhere deep within her. Yes. The world was about to change. The news of their engagement spread through London faster than wildfire in dry grass. Some whispered with shock, others with disapproval, and a few with quiet admiration. A duke marrying the poor professor's daughter was not the story society wanted, yet it was the story unfolding before their eyes. The Dagger Duchess refused to see Adrian. She believed Clara had pulled him into a scandal. She said Clara carried no fortune, no family power, no reason a man of rank should choose her. Many invitations to the wedding were returned with polite excuses. Some families who had once hoped the Duke might notice their daughters now wished to avoid anything connected to his decision. But there were also those who stood with Clara. Martha Ellingford spoke openly in the markets and drawing rooms, defending Clara as a woman of honesty and quiet strength. A few guests decided to attend the ceremony not because it was fashionable, but because they believed in the courage of the choice Adrian had made. The wedding took place at St. George's, Bloomsbury, a modest church that suited Clara far better than any grand cathedral filled with people who wished her harm. Only about 80 guests attended, but each one felt important, like they formed a small circle of truth around the couple. Clara wore her mother's wedding dress. She had altered it with her own hands. It was simple white silk without decoration. Her handkerchief, embroidered long ago, rested at her wrist like a piece of her mother's love, stitched into the day. Her father walked beside her, his arm trembling from emotion. He had never imagined that a daughter raised in a quiet house, dressed in plain gowns, might one day walk toward a future so large. Adrian waited at the altar, standing tall yet gentle, as if the world had stopped spinning so he could simply breathe in her presence. When he saw Clara walking toward him, something soft lit his eyes. It was not pride. It was something deeper, something like recognition, as if his heart whispered, "There she is." The vicar spoke the words of the ceremony. When he asked whether anyone wished to object, the silence in the church felt sacred. No letters arrived. No messenger stepped forward. Not even the Dagger Duchess had dared send a formal protest. Only calm air filled the room, the kind of calm that comes when the truth is stronger than fear. Adrian placed the ring on Clara's finger, a simple gold band without jewels. As he did, Martha Ellingford lifted her handkerchief to her eyes. She had seen Clara grow from a girl who hid behind quiet dignity into a woman who stood bravely in the light. The vicar pronounced them husband and wife. Adrian took Clara's hand gently, and before he kissed her, he whispered only for her to hear. "You have made me a better man. I give you not only my name, but my heart. I will spend my life showing the world why its judgment of you was wrong." Clara felt her breath tremble as he kissed her. It was soft and full of promise, sealing a future they would build together. 6 months passed. Winter slowly left England, and early spring flowers pushed through the ground. Clara now lived at Meovale House, the Duke's main residence. At first, the large home felt overwhelming, but slowly it changed. The quiet halls grew warm, the rooms softened around her presence. The servants adored her gentleness. Adrian never stopped watching her with the calm joy of a man who had finally found the one person who understood him. One evening, Adrian entered the library where Clara sat reading. He held a letter in his hand. His face looked thoughtful, touched with something like relief. "It is from my aunt," he said. Clara's breath tightened. The Dagger Duchess had not spoken to them since the engagement. Clara feared more rejection, more painful words. Adrian opened the letter and read it aloud. "My dear Adrian, I have watched from afar these past months. I feared your wife would bring scandal, yet she has carried herself with grace and patience. She has made no complaint. She has demanded nothing. I now see that I judged her wrongly. At Christmas, if you allow it, I wish to join the family gathering. I would like to know her as she truly is, not as I assumed her to be. Your affectionate aunt." Adrian lowered the letter and reached for Clara's hand. "She wishes to make peace," he said softly. Clara nodded. She did not speak ill of the aunt. She simply said, "She will see that her fears had no truth in them." Adrian touched her cheek with gentle pride. "She will see a woman of rare goodness, as I did." Clara leaned her head onto his shoulder. The window beside them stood open, letting in the scent of early spring. Outside, small wildflowers colored the garden. They were simple blossoms, pale and unassuming, yet strong enough to change the whole landscape. Clara understood then that her plainness had never been something to hide. It was the quiet strength that had drawn Adrian to her. It was the part of her that refused to bow to a world ruled by wealth and show. She had not become extraordinary because a duke chose her. A duke had chosen her because she had always been extraordinary. Adrian kissed the top of her head. The room grew warm around them, not from fire, but from the peace that comes when two people finally find the place where they belong.